everybody. It is the 15th day of May, 2013, the 15th day of May, 2013. Welcome to another live edition of Fire Your MD Now. 866-582-9933. That's the number to call in to speak with me live, 866-582-9933. I thought today we'd start off with a little poetic interlude, so here we go. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no feet had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. That's how it is, ladies and gentlemen, in the wonderful world of holistic medicine. Naturopathic physicians are the red-headed stepchildren of the medical family that nobody wants to pay any attention to. In the wonderful world of medical society, the MDs are at the top of the totem pole. The osteopaths are directly under them. The nurses are directly under them. Then come the chiropractors. Then come the herbalists. Then come the acupuncturists. Then come the Ayurvedic medical practitioners. Then come the traditional Chinese medical practitioners. Then comes the ground. Then there's 50 feet of dirt. And then there's the naturopaths. We are completely the red-headed stepchildren of the medical society that nobody wants to pay any attention to. It is only legal for me to practice naturopathic medicine in 16 states in the United States. 16 states only, plus Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. 16 states. You know what this means? This means that in the great state of Washington, in Seattle, the city of Seattle, as a licensed naturopathic physician, I can prescribe drugs, perform minor surgery, deliver babies, order any diagnostic test that I want, legally refer to myself as a physician, work in hospitals, and it's all covered by insurance. Pretty great. Well, yeah, unless you live in the state of Illinois or in 36 other states in the United States where, if I were to practice naturopathic medicine in the city of Chicago, and do exactly the same thing that I did in the city of Seattle, just by simply crossing state lines. If I was to do exactly the same thing in Chicago that I did in Seattle, I would be fined for $5,000 and sued for practicing medicine without a license, put in jail for a year. Now, is that right? Is that correct? Is that just? No. It is unjust, it is incorrect, and it is the opposite of right. It is wrong. And yet this is the environment in which we live. Yes, today in the modern age, not really any different than putting children to work as slave labor, right? Childhood labor. Oh, that's what a valid economic necessity is, a childhood labor. Oh, that's what slavery is. You can't build a society without slavery. Oh, don't let those women vote. Oh, no, don't let those naturopaths practice medicine. This is what we're up against. We think we live in a progressive society. We think that, we've gotten beyond all of the cultural hurdles, but we haven't. For goodness sake, we don't have equal rights before the law. There is no free medical market here. There's no free medical market in the free world. We don't have a free medical market. The medical arena has been monopolized and capitulated by the pharmaceutical industry and the MDs since the infamous Flexner report of the early 1900s. Rockefeller Medicine Man is a wonderful book written by a guy named E. Richard Brown. E. Richard Brown, Rockefeller Medicine Man. If you can get a copy of that, check it out on Amazon.com. They don't make any. You have to get a used copy. This book is not in print anymore. You'd have to get a used copy. Rockefeller Medicine Man gives a very concise, eye-opening history of the evolution of medicine in the United States. You know, most people believe incorrectly that the MDs are in charge of medicine, and they are in charge of medicine here, and they have been since the early 1900s in the U.S. Most people incorrectly believe that the MDs are in the driver's seat of medicine because their therapeutics must be more scientific. They must be more effective. They must be safer. They must be more science-based. They must be more clinically verified. They must be something better than what everybody else does because, hey, they're number one. Well, they're number one for a reason, but it's got nothing to do with the effectiveness or the safety of their medical therapeutics. It has everything to do with financial collaborations between pharmaceutical industries and the American Medical Association that happened at the turn of the century that everybody's completely forgotten about. Your MD is in the driver's seat of medicine because his profession or her profession legislated themselves there. It also didn't hurt that they glad-handed legislators to pass oppressive laws which made it illegal to practice medicine unless you were an MD. Now, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you love to be in that business? Wouldn't it be great if you're an automobile salesman and that you sell Fords, right? And that the state that you're in passes a law that makes it illegal for anybody but Ford to sell automobiles in your state. Wouldn't that be good for you? It would be great for you. That's the way it is with medicine. It's illegal for me to practice medicine in 36 states in the United States. It is outside the parameters of law. And this is not just, it is not fair, and it is not correct. It is the opposite of all three. And yet, your MD will tell you that they own the medical theater and that they're the only people that you should listen to because everybody else is the back of the bus quack selling snake oil. Well, one of my pet peeves, snake oil. You know, it's like during political debates, right? When you have a scurrilous political party are driving the reins of medicine, and I don't care if it's the Democrats or I don't care if it's the Republicans. Everybody seems to have their heads up there, you know what, lately when it comes to politics. So, you know, they'll forward legislation and they'll call it the Clean Air Protection Act, and when you really drill it down to its nuts and bolts, it gives money to the biggest polluters in the world. It gives tax breaks to the biggest polluters. It's smoke and mirrors. It's exactly the opposite of what they told you it would be. The Patriot Act, right? It's exactly the opposite of what you think it is. Constant surveillance, that's what the Patriot Act allows for. Warrantless wiretaps, that's what the Patriot Act allows for. Does that make you a good patriot to spy on your neighbor without a legal warrant? Is that a good patriotic thing to do? No. It's a communistic dictatorship, Machiavellian thing to do. But, you know, with politics, they sell it to you one way and it's really the opposite. Well, it's the same with medical skullduggery. When somebody tells you that somebody else, that a profession other than them is selling snake oil, that means that they're selling snake oil. They're the ones selling snake oil. They're trying to convince you it's everybody but them, but the people, crying wolf are the people who are guilty. There are currently over 30 drugs and medical devices which were approved by the Food and Drug Administration as safe and effective and okay for you to use. Over 30 that there are now class action lawsuits against, and the companies that make them are paying millions of dollars in fines. And nobody goes to jail. Oh, by the way, isn't that the very definition of snake oil? I mean, isn't that what snake oil is? It's a medical treatment that's supposed to do A, but instead it does B, and into the bargain, it's expensive and it hurts you. Oh, yes, it even kills you, like Vioxx. Vioxx, the wonder drug of pain medications, supposed to be the godsend of humanity. Absolutely no side effects with Vioxx. It didn't hurt your liver, didn't hurt your kidneys. Oh, yeah, but one thing that it did do, death. Yeah, Vioxx. The only side effect of Vioxx is death. 500,000 people died because they took their MD's advice and took a drug that was approved by the Food and Drug Administration, which is an absolutely corrupt organization. Over 1/3 of the medical professionals hired by the Food and Drug Administration to approve or disapprove your medications work for the companies that make the meds. They've cooked the books. And it's not even a position that people are elected to. You have no say in who's on the Food and Drug Administration. They are appointed. For goodness sake, it is one giant political party of insanity. It is all insider this and insider that. And they don't have your best interests at heart. They have their pocketbooks at heart. And you are suffering because of it. And then they have the unmitigated gall and audacity to turn around and say that, oh, it's not them that's selling snake oil. It's those vitamins. It's those herbs. Well, you know how many people died from vitamins last year? 0. You know how many people died from prescription medicine? 780,000. You know how many people are killed every month at the VA? 15,000. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time we all collectively snapped out of it and woke up. The only person selling snake oil in the United States, just ask Angelina Jolie, have MDs after their name, and it is time we called a spade a spade. It's time we drew a line in the sand and said, you know what, take your drugs and shove it. Take your biased, faulty, one-sided, pig-headed research and shove it where the sun don't shine, because I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. You've let me down hard. You've bankrupted my family and friends. You've killed my family and friends, and I ain't going to take it anymore. I'm firing you, Mr. MD. You are fired. You want to see a better way? You found it. 866-582-9. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you. Wednesday, May 15th, for another live edition of Fire Your MD. 866-582-9933. Now, in a minute, we're going to go to Utah and talk to Jill about interstitial cystitis. But before we do that, we're going to go to Massachusetts and talk to Richard. But before we do that, I just want to give you a little insight into this whole interstitial cystitis thing by way of education about how stupid the MDs are, and I am choosing my words carefully. We're going to talk to Jill shortly about interstitial cystitis. Here's what Wikipedia says about interstitial cystitis. And I quote, interstitial cystitis, or bladder pain syndrome, is a chronic condition and diagnosis of exclusion of unknown cause. Of unknown cause. Of unknown cause. Characterized by bladder pain. It may be associated with urinary urgency, urinary frequency, waking up at night to urinate, and sterile urine cultures. Those with interstitial cystitis may have symptoms that overlap with other bladder disorders, such as urinary tract infections, overactive bladder, urethritis, urethral syndrome, and prostatitis. It can result in a quality of life comparable to that of a patient with rheumatoid arthritis, chronic cancer pain, and a patient on kidney dialysis, which basically means they have no idea whatsoever what's going on with it, but they give it a fancy schmancy medical name to make you genuflect at their artificial altar of nonsense intelligence. For goodness sake, you're giving these knuckleheads $600 a month in medical insurance premiums, and they don't even know what causes frequent urination? You got to be kidding me. How long have they been doing this? What is it that they're doing in the back rooms with the microscopes and the cell cultures and the autopsies? Why don't they know what the hell is going on? Because they are truculent, close-minded, stubborn, pedantic, reductionistic people who smell unduly of the lamp. They have zero experience with the pragmatic, pathophysiological, holistic root cause of disease, and you are foolish enough to give them your hard-earned money every month. They must be avoided like the plague. But don't get me started. Let's go to Massachusetts and talk to Richard about something. Hey, Richard, thanks for the call. You are live.
Hey, UMass. You went to UMass, huh?
Hey, I did. I was at UMass, let me tell you, from 1984 till 1987. How about that? What about you?
71.
Well, there you go. How about that?
Go Minutemen.
One thing, just I got to digress a little bit here. When you were at UMass, was the library in the middle of the complex? Were the bricks falling off of the side of the library then, or hadn't they not built it yet?
Yeah, it was built. The new library or the engineering library?
No, the new library, because they built it architecturally unsound, and so they had to put books on every other floor, because if they put books on every floor, the structure wouldn't have been able to support itself. And a couple of years after they built it, bricks would start spontaneously falling off of it. So they had this big cordoned area around the base of it. Everybody feared for their life going into the library.
Yeah, they had it under construction when I was there.
Isn't that something? Well, so much for nostalgia, Richard. Thanks for calling. How can I help?
Well, I got congestive heart failure.
How long you had that?
Well, they diagnosed it a year ago, April.
Yeah.
But here's my rundown. I'm 65.
Yeah.
The good news is I used to drink 2 liters of Diet Coke a day. I got rid of that in January, thank God.
Good man.
If it wasn't for longevity, I think I'd be dead, because in January I was really sick and I started taking this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was about 242 then. Now I'm about 217. I'm about 5'10".
Nice.
At age 10, I had the appendix taken out. I had acne as a teenager up until about I was 23. At 42, I had a myocarpal infraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happened was then, 6 months prior to that, I had lower disc problems, and they had me in traction. Yeah. And I went to a chiropractor. In 2 weeks, I was normal.
Yeah, imagine that, right?
Yeah, I think that caused a heart attack.
I do, too. That's what I think,
20 minutes after a stress test, by the way.
Oh, yeah, well, hang on, Richard. We're up against a hard break. I'm going to tell you why they do a stress test in a minute, and it will freak you out. Thanks for the call. Stick around, buddy. I'm going to talk to Richard about how to make a healthy heart when we come back after these messages. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Stick around. That poem that I read at the top of the hour, of course, by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. We're taking the road not taken. I've been driving down, walking down, running down, skipping down the road not taken my entire life. Absolutely the best decision I ever made was to hook my wagon to the naturopathic medical profession and then to mentor under the guidance of Dr. Joel Wallach, the founder of Longevity and the man who has forgotten more about medicine than any doctor alive knows. I'm going to prove it to you by giving Richard from Massachusetts a little more counsel about his heart. Hey, Richard, are you still with me?
Oh, yeah, you bet your life.
All right, so you know why they do cardiac stress tests? You know what the goal of that test is?
Make a lot of money.
To give you a heart attack. Well, that's why they do it. It's a stress test, right? The goal of the test is to see whether or not your heart is weak or strong, and if it's weak, you get a heart attack from the test. That's the goal of the test, to give you a heart attack, for goodness sake. And I'm the quack. So how soon after you did the cardiac stress test did you get a heart attack?
20 minutes later, as soon as I got home.
Bada bing, bada boom. Exactly. And, you know, this is insanity on steroids, and yet because it's everywhere all the time, it's like living in a freaking monkey house. You start to think that it's just normal to be crazy. And so we don't question these people. We just do what they say until we just get so freaking fed up with it that, you know, we just say, you know, you guys stink at what you do. I don't give a crap what you say anymore. I am done. and I'm going to look for a science-based, clinically verified alternative. So glad that you found us, Richard. So very glad that you found us. So please tell me what you've been taking and how you feel.
Okay, I've been taking the Ultimate Healthy Pack along with this selenium every month, you know, and I'll tell you what's happened was I thought I was going to die in January, to be honest with you. And it has brought me back. I had some patches on my leg and one on my back. It was all red, and it was like I was scratching like a hound dog. And that went away. That disappeared.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I really feel real good. I'm a guy who's totally against taking medication. Matter of fact, after they gave me their bag of pills when I had the heart attack, I threw them away after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, just a heads up while I'm thinking of it, while it's on the top of my mind, skin stuff, whenever you have anything on the outside of your skin, you've got 10 times as much of the same stuff on the inside of your skin. So given the fact that the outside of the skin cleared up, we're just going to assume that the inside of the body is also fixing itself. And, you know, most people don't think about it like that, but after Wallach did 26,000 autopsies, he started to see patterns like this, that, you know, skin conditions affect the inside of the body as much as they affect the outside of the body, and we don't talk about that much, at least in public. But in any event, the moral to this story is it's really good thing that went away. Yeah,
that disappeared. One thing that he always asked a question about is appendix taken out, and that happened at age 10.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that created the acne I had through teenage years. But anyways,
yeah.
In a year ago, April, I went into the hospital. I couldn't breathe at all, and they said I had congestive heart failure. And they give me these medications. They want to give me statin drugs. I told them to take those and forget about it.
Good man.
And I'm taking aspirin, Elandroperidol, or Mesalide, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And sporadic lactic and carnival. I want to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So first thing I need to ask you, was it a definitive diagnosis and they said, you know, Richard, guaranteed this is a drop-dead diagnostic thing that you definitely have congestive heart failure, or did they say, hey, Richard, we're not really sure, we think it's congestive heart failure? Do you remember what they told you?
Yeah, it says a drop-dead deal. The lady this is Bay State Hospital in Springfield. Yeah. They brought some expert from Mass General. Of course, I lived in Houston for 30 years, so that's why I was out of tune with what was going on up here.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, all right. So now, from Dr. Wallach's point of view, congestive heart failure, legitimate diagnosis of congestive heart failure, is the end stage of something called Kuru disease. It's also called Korsakoff's syndrome. And it's a simple vitamin B1 deficiency. So the main cause from the medical nutrition point of view, causative factor of congestive heart failure, is a deficiency in vitamin B like baby 1, a deficiency in vitamin B1. So it would be indicated for you to support and promote the structure and function of your heart and lungs, to, in addition to what you're already doing, to take a de-stress supplement. And if you're over 200 pounds with a definitive diagnosis of congestive heart failure, I would do 2 bottles of de-stress a month. That's D like David stress, de-stress, like detoxify. It's Longevity's brand of B complex vitamins, B like baby. And I have seen remarkable turnarounds of congestive heart failure with just the de-stress supplement all by itself, you know, notwithstanding any of the other 90 essentials. So I would anticipate that by adding the de-stress into the program, within 90 days, I mean max, you should see a remarkable improvement. All right, so I want to really dial this in here for you, Richard, because my heart goes out to you. So your current body weight is a little over 200. You said you're 217, I think.
217, and I heard you yesterday talking about that diet, and I immediately got on a 1,200 calorie diet immediately.
Yeah, okay. So At 217, now, are you taking the Healthy Start Pack?
The Healthy Start Pack, and I've also got ASAP, which I was going to take until what you said yesterday.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know what your budget is, but in a perfect world, here's what I would have you do. And if you can't do this, do half of it. All right? So in a perfect world, every month, you would be doing 2 Healthy Start Packs. 2 Healthy Start Packs a month. 4 bottles of selenium a month. 4 bottles of selenium a month. 1 bottle of Ultimate Daily Capsules a month. And 2 bottles of de-stress a month. 2 bottles of de-stress. So that's 2 de-stress, 1 Ultimate Daily, 4 selenium, and 2 Healthy Start Packs. That's a very, very good place to start. If you can't do that, then do 1 Healthy Start Pack, 2 selenium, 1 bottle of Ultimate Daily Capsules, and that would be, and 1 bottle of de-stress, 1 bottle of de-stress, all right? Plus, of course, you must eliminate the 10 bad foods, and once you've eliminated the 10 bad foods completely and you're taking these supplements, which it sounds to me like you already have, it should be relatively easy for you to dial in 1,200 calories a day. And, you know, that's a tricky thing to do in the first couple of weeks. It's really almost like riding a bike or, you know, a motorcycle. It really takes a couple of weeks to really get used to it and get comfortable doing it so that you're really comfortable with it. What I would recommend for the first couple of weeks is you download a free app or 2 for your cellular device, or get it online if you don't have a smartphone, that are calorie counters. Because it is really, 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 really easy to sneak in calories and you have no idea that you've snuck them in. So you might think that you're eating 1,200 calories, but really you're eating 1,800, and who knew? So when you get into the business of aggressively going after weight, you have to count calories, and everybody needs help counting calories in the first couple of weeks. So I would, you know, dial that in, so to speak, pun intended. Make sure that you're, you know, pretty much within 10 calories, give or take, of your calorie intake every day, and use the nutritional supplements into the bargain to cut down on your appetite, eliminate the 10 bad foods. And specifically, does the congestive heart failure, or does the heart condition that you have now, does it bother you on a day-to-day basis? Like, how does that symptom complex show up in your life? Or how does it show up?
Back in January, when I thought it was all over, I had a hard time getting up to the second floor stairs.
Yeah.
Now I have no problems with it. And at one time I was down to 170, which was my high school weight.
Yeah.
And of course, over the years, I gained, over the last, say, 4 or 5 years, I gained the weight back. But, you know, I used to walk a lot, and now, since that congestive heart failure hit, I'm almost afraid to go out for a long walk.
Yeah.
Because you run out of breath, and all of a sudden you're toast. But I'm feeling better. I've been walking a little bit more, and I can get up the stairs pretty easily with no problem now.
All right. So add the de-stress for 2 months.
Okay.
See, you know, what happens. Look for some type of noticeable and measurable improvement. And then, let me see, June, July, sometime in August, you know, go to a different doctor or go back to the same knucklehead. Don't do a cardiac stress test ever again in your life. Do not ever get on that machine ever again in your life. Those freaking things should be outlawed. They're medieval machines, and really they should be outlawed. But you need to have, if you don't need the drugs, then there's no reason to take the drugs. But because it's a heart condition, right, there's a fine line between when you've made your heart so healthy with nutritional supplements that you just don't need the drugs anymore. So at some point in time, you're going to need to have the heart condition reassessed, you know, by somebody who can figure that out without putting you on a treadmill, for goodness sake. And then withdraw you from the meds appropriately. And, you know, I would start to dial that in August, at the end of the summer, after you've added the de-stress into the bargain here, and increase your intake of selenium if you're not at 4 bottles a month. That sound good, Richard?
Yeah. Just one thing that they did give me. They gave me one of those medicine stress tests a couple months ago.
Yeah.
and I passed that thing with no problem.
All right. Well, see, that's a good thing. So you can also let your experience be the guide, because especially when the heart is problematic, it really affects, it has kind of this background, overarching, suppressive effect on many different aspects of your life. So in the next couple of months, after adding the de-stress, if your mood's better, your energy's better, your stamina's better, you're able to walk, around the block without any effort at all, or as you see things start to brighten up, then you can rest assured that things are brightening up because we have supported and promoted the structure and function of your heart, and your heart is actually fixing itself to the degree that it is able to do that. And, because it's your heart, we don't want to mess around. And so sometime in August, go to see somebody, who has a clue and can do an assessment of your heart so that you know that you're out of the woods. And really, if it took longer than 2 months for this to happen, I would be surprised. But check it out, Richard, and give me a call back sometime in August with a report. For goodness sake, you can call me whenever you want. It's always fun talking to a fellow, a Minute Man. Thank you so much for the call. Thank you so much for the call. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, the 15th day of May, and I'm taking your calls when we come back. We're going to go to Utah, finally talk to Jill about interstitial cystitis, so stick around. Let's go to Utah finally and talk to Jill. Hey, Jill, thanks for the call. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. I have a friend who has been diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. She has now done, she's on her 4th round of antibiotics, each being 10 to 14 days in length. Of course, her urine cultures have come back negative.
Yeah.
She has, basically constant pain and a burning sensation, but not with urination.
Yeah.
They want her to have a cystoscopy, which she does not want and is against.
Want her a what?
A cystoscopy, to have a definitive diagnosis.
Yeah, of course they do. They're nuts.
Yeah, and she's pretty fed up. This has been going on for almost 11 weeks. And basically all she now is down to is taking ibuprofen around the clock, and that's the only thing that kind of gives her any relief in the pain. And she, of course, doesn't want to do that either. So she is kind of at her wit's end and is wondering what would be best.
Well, the best thing to do is ask the doctors for her money back because, they're knuckleheads and the therapies that they prescribed didn't work. Interstitial cystitis is a garbage can diagnosis because there's like 20 different things that fit into that category, and the doctors developed that diagnosis in order to explain away their diagnostic inadequacies. Telling somebody they have interstitial cystitis. So here's the deal. You've got bladder pain and trouble when you urinate. And so it's the bladder. So you go into the doctor and you tell them your symptoms, and they do $3,000 worth of testing, and then they tell you that you have a bladder problem. Well, thank you very much. I knew that when I came in here. And then they tell you, well, not only do you have a bladder problem, but we did a urinalysis and we couldn't find any bacteria, but we're going to give you an antibiotic anyway. Well, why would you do that? Would you give somebody that did not have sinusitis, so that had just had a runny nose, an antibiotic? If you're an idiot, you would do that. I mean, this is bordering on medical malpractice. However, she could never get that to fly because this type of treatment is considered the standard of medical care, because the standard of medical care is all right with insanity. And the MDs will never, ever, ever eat their own. They'll never eat their own. They've cooked the books, the legal books, so that they can do all of these ridiculous, nonsensical procedures that actually hurt people, or at worst, or at best, that don't fix anything, right? And yet, that's inside of their scope of practice. It's considered their just and responsible thing to do, and it is insane. And I am choosing my words carefully. It's like we're at the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, man. Everybody around us is just freaking crazy. Well, not everybody, but the people with the white coats. And it is nonsense. I mean, it is nonsense. So, to support and promote the structure and function of the urogenital system in the face of a clean cat's urine where there's no bacteria present. She's already been on, 3 rounds of antibiotics. We need to clean that up right away. So I would put her on 2 packets of root beer belly, 2 packets of root beer belly a day. That's 2 boxes a month, 2 packets of the root beer belly a day. In addition to that, I would give her 1 anti-aging healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per day, 1 anti-aging healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per day, and I would give her 4 bottles of selenium a month. I don't care how much she weighs. I'd give her 4 bottles of selenium a month for 1 month, and then I would give her selenium appropriate for body weight at 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month. 1 bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per month. But in the first 4 weeks, I'd give her 12 selenium a day. That's 4 bottles a month. That's 4 capsules with breakfast, 4 capsules with lunch, 4 capsules with dinner, or even better, 4 capsules between breakfast and lunch, 4 capsules between lunch and dinner, and 4 capsules between dinner and bedtime. Plus the anti-aging healthy start pack, and eliminate the 10 bad foods, and do 2 packets of root beer belly a day. Have her do that just for 2 weeks, and then have her call me up on air with a report, because I want to dial this one in. This is just remarkable to me that the MDs have gone this far over the cliff with their medical incompetence, and I want to show the listening audience what science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition can do. And I don't even know this person, haven't seen their blood work. All I know is elementary stuff. Why? Because healing is easy.